And you know it, I know it. You don't have to do that much. Exercise, as they say, is medicine. It's a proper dose. You got to find that proper dose, and that proper dose is more likely to be less than more.
We are about to launch.
What's up, everybody? Truth Not Trends. Liam TAKU Bauer back in the house. TNT Strength Studios, Oakland, California. This is the podcast where we help you maximize your strength as safely and efficiently as possible. My name is Liam Bauer, and I've been a strength coach for 36 years and counting. And today, I had the pleasure of rejoining one of my friends and mentors, the brilliant Tom Kelso. Tom has been in the strength and conditioning world even longer than me, 40 years and counting. He's recently officially retired as a full-time exercise physiologist for the Metropolitan Police Department, but he is now still crushing people. He's written a million books. We'll find out all about it. Make sure you listen through. You'll hear all kinds of cool stuff. And we actually have had Tom on the show way back in episode number 10 and number 110. And believe it or not, this will be episode 180 of the TNT podcast, Truth Not Trends. Here we are. So before we get to that stuff, don't forget about the amazing supplements we have in our TNT store. You can visit us right at tntstrength.com and check it out. We recommend a high protein whole food diet at TNT, but just in case you got some holes in your nutritional plan, we've got 5 amazing supplements. You can get some probiotics for that gut health. Desmond Cappy McNeese is a big fan. We have fish oil, which is always good for anti-inflammatory stuff, omega-3s. We have creatine monohydrate, of course, the #1 performance-enhancing supplement that you can buy over the counter. No hormones, no injections, no weird stuff going on, no side effects. Everybody should be taking it. Of course, we've got delicious, chocolatey good whey protein because you need to make sure you're getting those protein needs met every day, people. And some K2 and D3 for those immunities.
Everybody out! He's got immunity!
Which we all need to take care of. And that's important stuff. So make sure you visit the store. And also, you might have heard us talking about, if you got through the episode, you'll hear us talking about the incredible Inauta Gym. Inauta Gym is an amazing smart gym company that makes incredible products. They have 3 different incredible gyms you can purchase: the P1 Lite, the P1 Pro, and the P1 Max. Check them out at inautagym.com. I highly recommend, if you're thinking about creating a home gym for yourself, you look into these amazing smart gym platforms. And if you're interested, you can use the code TAKU, T-A-K-U, and get 20% off anything in the Inauta Gym store. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode with my friend Tom Kelso and his friend Phil.
All right, let's start this fiasco.
Where's Phil?
Phil is hanging over there from a noose,
Okay.
which I'll be here shortly.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
We were looking back in the history, and apparently you were on episode number 10. So all the way back, in number like 2018, episode number 10, and then apparently you were on another episode, which I didn't realize.
Yes.
Which was like 110. I think it was episode 110.
It's been a few years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew I was on 2 of them. One's probably, yeah. So
you were way back on number 10, and now 110, and now here we are at 180.
Damn.
This is episode 180.
Do you remember them all, or?
I could remember them if I could read the list. I can't remember them all by everyone, but I definitely remember quite a few. Desmond doesn't know. Desmond, you remember? You know about Mike, right, Desmond? My little sheep. So years ago, when me and Tom when we did episode 10, Jesse was like thinking that he was gonna like make fun of me. So he's like, "Yeah, Liam has this stupid sheep," and then Tom has this little creature that he keeps with named Phil. He pulls him out. He's like, "Yeah, this is Phil, right?" So Jesse, the tides were turned when Jesse thought that he could make fun of me and Mike, and it turned out that Tom has his own buddy named Phil.
He's giving you the middle finger right now. This is Phil.
Phil's been hanging out a noose.
He wants to hang out on
He survived COVID and everything.
He did. He survived everything.
I'm going to jump back 2 things. One is let's give a intro about you, who you are and your background and everything, just for those people who might not have gone back and listened to episode 10 or episode 110. So give a little background about who you are, your time in the trenches, all that kind of stuff. So we can stick that in there somewhere. And then we'll dive into some other minutia.
All right. Let me go back to the microfiche at the library, right? All right. So I went to the University of Iowa. I was on the track and field team there. I was a pole vaulter. That was back in the late 70s, early 80s. Got my bachelor's degree there. I went to Western Illinois University, got my master's. I was assistant track coach there. I started out in the strength and conditioning profession at the University of Florida in 1984. So I was there for 6 years. And the last 2, I was a head strength coach. They made a coaching change, like, and the profession coaching, where the head coach leaves in certain sport and they want to get their own people in there. So anyway, move on. But I stayed in Gainesville for a year selling hammer strength equipment, believe it or not.
Nice.
That's when it kind of first came out, late 80s.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get into strength conditioning. So I took a job at Southeast Missouri State University in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. I was there for 10 years. I survived the coaching changes until it happened at one time and I was gone. Went to the University of Illinois, Chicago. I was there for 3.5 years. And then a job at St. Louis University opened up and I came to St. Louis, where I'm at right now. I was there for about 3.5 years. Again, a coaching situation that affected my status came about and I moved on for that. So I just retired back in August 30th after 16 years with the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. I was they created the position exercise physiologist. And I kind of hate that term because I'm not a PhD guy, but that was my title. But I was there 16 years training police recruits. I did part-time training at Pinnacle Personal Training out in Chesterfield, Missouri, where I'm at now doing part-time work. But I decided to pull the trigger after 40 years in the profession and retire from full-time work. And but I'm doing the part-time stuff still with it.
Yeah. So now, and you have an extensive background, obviously, in the collegiate realm in the strength and conditioning, but also people may not know that, Tom is a prolific author as well and has written a ton of awesome books and different workout types of materials. And, I discovered his work back in the probably very late 90s, early 2000s when you were connected with the IART at that time, International Association of Resistance Trainers. That was run by a gentleman by the name of Brian Johnston, who we've also talked about. He's no longer, he sold that institution to Mike Lepowski out of Pure Physique in New York. But that's where I first discovered Tom's work and, immediately recognized that there was a lot of value in the stuff that he was espousing. And I, in my earlier company, way back in the early 2000s, you might remember with Hybrid Fitness, we tracked you down.
Yes.
And we did some podcasts with you with my previous partner. You were like one of the very first guys that we talked to. We actually did a podcast with Brian Johnson as well. I remember that was a funny thing because you had said we should try to make him laugh because he's kind of a quirky character.
Yeah.
And I think I achieved that goal, which was, was good.
Good.
But anyway, so yeah, Tom and I go way back, and we actually spent some time together at the Legends of Strength clinics, those first 2 back that Kim Wood did in Ohio, which were awesome before they got a little crazy and changed their formats. And anyway, I've been lucky enough to have him as a friend and stay in touch over these years. So yeah, I just wanted people to get a little more of that background, just in case they don't go back and check out those other episodes. So again, this is our 3rd time being lucky enough to have Tom on board. He's, as he said, recently retired, but staying active. He's written some really great books out there about muscle physiology and that sort of thing. So I would recommend you look up some of that stuff. That one is called What's Going On in There? Is that the one?
Yeah, What's Going On in There? The Anatomy of a Resistance Training Set.
Yeah.
You can get that book on Amazon, but on my website, all my publications is tomkelso.com. But that book in particular, I've always been intrigued by what's going on in there when you're, muscle contracts, when you're lifting weights, what's on the, mechanical or the chemical level on the, all that stuff. So I kind of went over all the different components in that. And I put a disclaimer in there saying that some of the stuff is speculation, conjecture based on what we know at this point. So it may not be true, but it's a kind of a stab at what, because there's still so much we don't know. And that's kind of amazing.
Sure. But I mean, people who like to get nerd out on that stuff, I recommend you track those books down and look them up. Some amazing information. What are we going to talk about, Tom? I got that list of things you sent. We had some interesting little topics on there. Where should we start?
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. What are we doing? Meaning, you've been in the business a long time. I've been in it a long time. You look around, we started out, there was no internet. There was, we'd wait for the latest journal to come out. We'd wait for the latest paper production of something, and we'd eat it up. And, now, the internet, I mean, it's been around, what, 20, 30 years? Something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember the early days of when it first started out, going to these very few websites and finding information. But now with the social media thing, everybody's out there saying this, that, whatever. We're connected. I mean, instant information with so much stuff out there. Where are we? What are we doing? And are we accomplishing anything? Because human beings are human beings, now 100 years ago, whatever. So what are we doing as far as the current environment? Nutrition, that's a huge thing. You got crappy food out there. You got people who are still lazy. They need to be motivated. Where do we go? Are we doing the right thing? We should be happy about it. You know what I'm saying? You always think, we can do better. We can always do better, but you're obviously reaching your goals with your clients. I'm doing that. And I think of what we're doing, it's like not complicated, right?
Yeah.
You show up, you push yourself. I always say, give me 100%, whatever that is. Some days are good, some days are not good. Hey, whatever it is. The key is consistency. Always talking food intake. And I tell people, the easy part of this whole thing is working out, because you schedule, 3 1-hour sessions a week. But the hard part is the food intake. When you get in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, you got to decide what to put in your mouth. And it's a war out there, right?
Yeah.
And people are tempted and they'll fall off so what are we doing? We do our part. The other people, the trainees, have to do their part. And that's where we're in this new environment of like, how do we know they're doing it? And are they tempted by this? They see this supplement, they see this new food product. It's misinformation, disinformation, people trying to make money off that. So it's like, are we getting anywhere? I think so. I am. You are. But the big picture thing, like, it makes you wonder what it'll be like 5 years from now or 10 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because the information just is continuously being churned out.
Right.
I heard a crazy statistic about YouTube saying that like people upload more video almost daily to YouTube than the history of television.
Yeah.
From the beginning, like on a daily basis, there's just junk being churned out onto YouTube. Across every topic, right? It's not just fitness, but there's so much fitness information, if you want to call it that. Content would be a better word, right? Because it's not necessarily, there's so much content, and nobody knows how to sift through it, right? They don't even know where to begin. I know with our clients, and this may be something similar for you. We tell them straight up, like every one of our clients, like when we first have a meeting, we tell them that we guarantee that they will get, if they show up to the workouts, that they will get stronger. We guarantee that, but we don't guarantee them that they're going to fit in their clothes better. They're going to look as good as they want to, right? Unless they're willing to follow the nutrition component, right?
Yep.
And we tell them that, these are what we expect. If you follow the plan, we expect more muscle, we expect less fat, we expect all those things, but we don't have control over what you're putting in your mouth. And we're only spending, in our model, most of our clients are literally only spending about 1 hour a week with us. So just imagine how much other time. They got 167 hours
to screw up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes it very challenging. And of course, we do have clients that listen to the advice we give them about nutrition and do adhere to it. And then of course, they get tremendous results very quickly. But I can't say that that's the majority. I definitely have clients, and you may have experienced this yourself. I definitely have clients that I've worked with for, more than 10 years who have had the same 10 pounds to lose the entire time since I met them.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't listen. They come in, and every week or every month they go, I still get this little belly. And I'm like, are you eating your protein? Are you cutting down those cocktails at night? Are you, did you stop having ice cream for dessert every single day? You know what I mean? Like, and they're like, and they just don't change those habits.
Right. They, and they'll maybe lie to you about what their dietary intake was. I mean, I trained about, let's see, what is it, Wednesday? I trained 10 people on Monday and 4 yesterday because the company president of this part-time place in Woodward, he was out of town. But everybody has a different personality. Everybody has a pain tolerance that's different. And that's where sometimes you got to throw out some of the, research and just go with the art of training people where, this person's pain tolerance is this. So how hard can you push them? And they're paying for this workout. And, I always ask them, why are you here? And they'll stop and think. It's usually, to look better, lose some fat, have a longer lifespan, all that. So I said, well, good. This is what we're doing here today to help with that goal. But 90% of it is going to be in your hands when you're out away from you, right? So the workouts, I throw them out there. I said, whatever you got, give it to me as hard as you can. If it's an hour session or a half, I love the half-hour sessions because you can just get in there and get it done and they're done. So because most of my workouts, after 40 minutes, you're pretty much toast. So
yeah.
But going to failure, reps in reserve, this percentage, this extra. Hey, it's all effort based, and you can do a lot of different things. Be progressive, and just when I see you being the client, push yourself. Give me 100%, and we'll at least accomplish that part of the equation. But like you said, are you being misled by something you see on the internet that's nutrition wise maybe kind of specious or questionable? Are you making good decisions? You go to a grocery store? It's really complicated. Sometimes I wish it was back in the caveman days where we're going to go lift this weight, and then you go out and hunt down an animal, kill it and eat it, and then pick some berries off a tree, right?
Yeah.
There you go. No additives, no preservatives, no chemicals, no plastics.
Yeah. People would be a lot leaner. I think plastics, that's a crazy topic. We don't even want to go there, but it's like, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And now they're learning, the like sort of the microplastic, right, is inside your body at like every level, plastic from your clothes, cause we wear like the stretchy clothes, right? It's plastic from your underwear.
Yes.
Plastic from the food containers. Yeah. Oh my God.
There you go. We didn't have to think about that, 10, 15 years ago. It wasn't even it wasn't a main issue. Now it's like, okay, you got to factor that in now. So there's something else to deal with.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what we're saying. What are we doing? I mean, again, you still have to stick to the basics. And is there anything new out there we're going to find out? Probably not. And if it was, it's going to be some intricate little detail that you really can't apply to the average person because it's again, are you showing up or are you putting out effort? Then did you do one rep short of, failure? Or, I mean, it can get to the point where it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think one of the big things, let's just take reps in reserve as an example. Like that's become a big topic. You hear it a lot. I hear so many coaches advising people, as long as you're training 1 or 2 reps short of failure, right? That's good. That's good enough. But in my experience, and we mentioned this a lot, is that people are poor judges of proximity to failure, even experienced lifters. And so I don't understand why that should ever be a recommendation, because what is the downside of just trying to get to failure, right?
Yeah.
We try to get every single one of our clients to get to failure every single time we train them. Now, do they get to failure? Not everybody, not every time. But our goal, we never ever say, go ahead and give me 2 reps shy of your best effort. You know what I mean? Like we don't do that because we want, like you said, we want them to give us 100% for that day. And again, they're not good judges. A lot of times when I have those people that say, oh, that was it. And if you learn how to get them to dig, right, they might come up with 3, 4, 7 more reps, past the point where they thought they were done.
Uh-huh.
And you cannot measure that reps in reserve effectively. So it's just a silly thing to recommend as far as I'm concerned.
It's very objective or subjective. And like I know exactly what you're talking about. I have clients who will say, okay, I got 2 more in me because they kind of know their limit, right?
Yeah.
But their that limit is probably not their true limit.
Yeah.
So, okay, give me 2 more, when in fact they could have done 5 more. So how do you measure that? Did you get anything from that? You teach them to find out what their max limit is. And again, I'm talking about genetic limit. Everybody's got that. And there's that pain tolerance, right? Because we always keep going is that mental block, especially with people, when I train people who are never had an athletic background, they don't understand, fatigue, pain, tolerance. And so that's a huge challenge there, to get them to go beyond that threshold of, oh, okay, I'm getting tough. Okay, now it's getting really tough, as opposed to, going all out until you're completely shot.
Yeah. I mean, sorry to interrupt.
No, I was going to say, so it makes that whole RIR thing, and it's kind of a moot point because, did they sleep well the night before? Did they have good nutrition prior to the workout? You got to factor all that in. And all we know to do objectively say, give me all you have.
Yeah.
And then you can see them as they go over time. They learn how to push themselves beyond that point, and they start getting results.
For sure.
But their results are dictated by their genetics, right, and their dietary intake and sleep and all that stuff. So
yeah, no doubt.
You never waver from square one, and that is the overload recovery progression should be the underpinning of any program. Now, 100 years from now, 100 years ago,
yeah,
that's relieving knowing it, or it's a relief knowing that, because it's like, okay, we can do that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. So
I think that, so we reps in reserve is one thing, that the progression is another thing, right? We have to have progressive overload, right? In our place, we literally track everything. And so if you're a client with us, you came in, you worked out on Monday, we track that workout, we track the reps, the weight, the time under tension, all that stuff. And so the next time you come in, when the coach is building a workout for you, he can literally look back and say, what's Tom's, best effort on the chest press, the row, the pull down, and he can see it literally down to the second. You did a minute and 16 seconds, you did 9 reps, whatever, right? He knows all that data, and so he knows, okay, oh, this one he was able to go, over 90 seconds, right? Like higher reps. It's time to bump that one up. This one he struggled. He only was able to do 50 seconds, right? We're going to keep that weight the same and see, can we go longer, right? We're going to adjust those things on every exercise every time they come in, and we know this one. Here's your best record. Let's try to beat that record. Like we're literally, like, for me, that's my battle cry with all my clients. Like, let's break the records today, right? Let's break the records, and the only records that count are your records, right? So I call it the world record, but it's your world record, right? I go, all right, Tom, your world record on this is going to be, bam. And let's see if we can beat that world record today, right? And if we don't beat it, that's okay. But we're striving for that every time. And most of our clients, when they're doing well, they're breaking most of their records every time they come in. You know what I mean? Whether it's a few seconds, a little more weight, a combination. Sometimes we call it double progression, right? They did more weight and more reps, right? Right. They had a really good day. But we're looking at all this stuff and we're tracking it. If you're not tracking it, you don't know whether you're making progress. You can't come in and, pick up 50 pounds and do 10 reps and do that every single time for 6 months straight and expect to make improvements.
Right. But I mean, that is doing the job right there. Progression. You're pushing them as hard as they can and tracking the progress. And it still amazes me how some trainers out there don't record anything. I've seen that. Maybe you have too.
Oh, of course.
You have to have a snapshot of the moment to know what to do next time. Or like you said, look back in history and say, hey, you did this that time. And the people I train, I'll make a whole assortment of different workouts, and they're mostly total body workouts. And I have so many that sometimes we won't repeat one for maybe like 6 to 8 months. And part of that is I trick them into to working hard, because everything has something new. It's something new, so they can't really think, okay, I did this last time, so I'm going to pull back on this one. But the value of that is when I look back, 6 months ago or whatever it was, say, hey, back on this date, you did this. And I said, you got this goal, you got something to aim for. And they usually surpass that. The older people, they're more experienced, obviously, when you start reaching your genetic potential, it's more about hanging on and trying to keep from regressing. The younger people, the novice, they have a lot of untapped potential, so you can always make those gains. But like you said, bottom line is you have a record of what they did before. And because progression is one of the cornerstones of any good program, you track exactly what happened, and you have recorded history that we have to try to beat this next time, or on this date you did this. And why some people don't record that is really it's kind of crazy, because I don't know how unless they have a hell of a photographic memory.
Yeah,
you need a basis. I mean, I think of an analogy you can draw from this, but it's just, it's just like anything else. You have to know what you did before to know what to do in the future. And you can have multiple workouts, but then you repeat those workouts. Like I said, on my rotation is like I said, really a lot of them then will repeat. But at some point you repeat that so you can see what you did. And there may have been an injury at a certain time, and you can make a note of that because, hey, on this day you didn't do this, but you had this going on maybe. Hey, that's good information to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it'll explain why maybe you did better today than then, or maybe you lost a bunch of weight. And I know one thing like that, like doing body weight dips and chins. If you've lost a bunch of weight, you can do more reps because there's less weight to be pulling, right?
For sure. Yeah. And we even keep records on, like the seat settings and, all that stuff, right? So we know when someone comes in, right, we know how to adjust the machine or whatever. And I'm making notes, even workout to workout, like what the protocol was. Maybe we changed the protocol. Maybe, like you say, maybe they had an injury or something. So I'm making those notes, right? His left leg was bothering him. So we did something different, right? But we're tracking all this stuff. And then, speaking of nerding out, right, and talking about all the internet stuff and the information, and the sort of overload, that's one of the problems with this instant access to information now. Like I noticed another trend besides the reps and reserve that's going on is this paper that came out recently saying that, hypertrophy, right, which is our fancy word for muscles getting bigger, can be stimulated when you train muscles in the lengthened position. Do you hear about this, right? So this became like a big thing, like make sure you're training in, in the lengthened position, like biceps or whatever. So now you got all these coaches emphasizing that to a great degree, like, oh, make sure you're at the lengthened position of this or the lengthened position of that or the lengthened position of another thing. And again, they get lost in this minutia of a activity or application, which may or may not give you like 1% difference in the outcome. And people get hung up on these little details, like the what's it called? Occlusion stuff, right? Where you're like, putting the straps around your muscles, right? All these little side things that show up, and people try to find a way to tap into it or create a product or sell it and make money. But people get lost in those little details and they miss those things that we talked about of just progression, tracking the records, trying to increase, working as hard as you can, recovering fully between the workouts, right? That's the bread and butter of everything for everyone. And unfortunately, with all this constant instant access to information, they start to waste their time on these little modalities of, am I stretching my biceps enough at the bottom when I do my curls, right? And it doesn't matter.
That's a great point. They're putting the cart before the horse, right?
Yeah.
And there's a place for that kind of stuff. If you've been doing it for years and you're kind of, you're looking for something maybe new, just to maybe get like you said, a small fraction of a percentage better. When you've tapped out doing, as you mentioned, the basic overload recovery progression thing. And that's what's kind of cringeworthy when you see people who are especially younger doing all that stuff, when it's like, wait a minute, have you even taken a program that's just basic full range exercise, muscle failure, progression, all that stuff? It's as far as you can. And no, they're jumping off and, like you said, taking this new wave thing that's come on the market or on the internet and going with it. And they're not at that point yet. And it's, again, there's some value to that for the appropriate person, but the average person out there doesn't need to focus on that because they've not left square one, so to speak.
I think the problem even happens with higher level, quote unquote, athletes. I see this in the physique athletes, these days, even, bikini competitors. I mean, there's so many categories now, right? There's, men's physique, and they've created, all these categories across bodybuilding, if you want to call it that. And again, they start to get lost in the weeds as well. And they're like looking for those little secret silver bullets when they aren't even working hard enough to begin with on the basic plan.
Yeah.
They're not recovering. They're not, they think the training is the easy part, a lot of them, and they think the nutrition's the hard part, which can be true, but they're not even getting the training right because, again, they're doing too much volume and frequency, not actually working hard, worrying about these little details. Yeah, it's crazy. I've trained some, female and male physique athletes, and and other all types of athletes just like you. And you just see them getting hung up on the wrong thing. I remember one guy, he had his gym bag and I saw it open up, and he literally had every single supplement from this one particular company that he had just decided was like the best. I won't bother naming them. And I just saw in his bag, and it was just filled with like every secret pill and potion and powder, and he was a young trainer. And I said, let me put you through a workout. And I put him through like, like a J reps, J reps, like the Johnson rep method, right? The zone training. I put him through this like chest, shoulder, tricep J rep workout. And he just like was sitting there at the end of the workout, just staring at me with this like funny look on his face. And he just said to me, "Have I been doing it wrong all this time?" And I was like, "Yes, you have."
Yes.
And I was like, all those supplements in your bag are not going to be the secret to your success.
Yeah. I mean, put it this way: if you start doing something, you're going to get some kind of result, right?
Yeah.
Just by the virtue of the fact you're doing something, and I've always said this, doing something's 100% better than doing nothing. But then you get into that, all the nuances, all the subjective. Do I do 3 sets, 4 sets? Do I do 10 reps? Do I 15? Do I take this supplement, that? And that's where it's out of control. And this is an old school approach, but going back to the Arthur Jones days, right? 1 set as hard as you can is a great protocol because it hits all the different markers. You're doing the exercise properly, you go into fatigue, and then you're probably going to rest after that and come back and try to do more, right?
Yeah.
But you could sit there and do 20 sets, 3 sets. It comes down to, it's your prerogative to do that. But, and you know it, I know it, you don't have to do that much. Exercise, as they say, is medicine. It's a proper dose. You got to find that proper dose, and that proper dose is more likely to be less than more, right? And you're not going to, the multi-set police aren't going to come out and arrest you if you do 2 or 3 sets of something. But when you're doing 8 sets per body part, or 8 sets for 3 exercises for 1 body part, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Who has the time for that? If you have the time for that, then you must not have a life beyond that, and you're probably not working hard, because there's no way if you work really hard, you could survive that type of overload.
Yeah.
So we're still on that square one thing, and it's always going to come back to when you look at your program, and even taking into consideration all the modern stuff, like you said, the whole, in a maximal stretch position, concentric only, eccentric only, J reps, isometric holds. A lot of things work. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Because you're actually doing something to that muscle or on the muscle groups to create some kind of a recovery or a demand for adaptation. But you can't ever waver from the whole progression or overload recovery progression thing. And it's, you train people low volume. I train people pretty much low volume. We get results. And so there's a message in there that wouldn't fly well with the people who are gym rats who go there, 5 days a week for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I am very lucky, and you're lucky too, because your own facility. But the place I train people, it's a facility attached to a hotel, but it's a facility you can join. But my point is, it's not your typical packed to the gills with people lifting every day. It's not that crowded. But I do see a few things out there that I cringe when people are doing it. But hey, again, that's their prerogative. They want to go there and sit on a leg extension machine and play with their phone, trying to get to the next song on their playlist. That's their, good luck. But when they see me training people really hard, I think they got like, what the hell is going on over there? But it's all about finding that proper dosage, and it can vary from person to person based on their genetics or muscle fiber type, their recovery ability, a lot of that stuff. But the only way to find that out is to actually stick with it for a while and find out what works best for you. But it's
for sure.
The answer is not all these crazy different protocols and high rep things. If you're an average person who just wants to get better, get fit, build some muscle, lose some fat, and get in better shape, that's unnecessary because of the time constraints. And also, where do you draw the line? If I do 10 sets, let's do 20 sets, right?
Exactly. I think what we find, and the big takeaway from what you said right there, is that 99% of the time, you want to default to less, right? And people don't understand that. So our filter at TNT is always, what is the least amount required to achieve the goal, and that's part of the challenge. And this is comes back to Menser, Mike Menser. One of the great things that Mike Menser said was that he didn't have any sort of obsession or sort of deference to the idea that 1 set was best, but that no matter what, it's the logical place to start, right? Because when you start with 1, if it doesn't work for any reason, there's only 1 place to go, right? But all these people, when they look at these programs and it says, do 7 sets of this and 5 sets of this, number one, most of those programs, they're really just making shit up, right? You see the stuff on the internet and you see them spewing out these numbers, 5 of these and 7 of these and 3 of these and 4 of that one. why does one need more and one need less, and why are the numbers different? But the other thing is, if you start with that program and it isn't working, you have no idea what to do. Do I cut the 7-set one down to 6 sets? Do I take the 4-set one up to 5 sets? Like, what do I do to make it better? There's no way to know. But if you start with only one of each thing and you work hard, if it isn't working for any reason, there's only one place to go: add another set, right? The reality is, though, it could even be that you don't need to add another set. You're just still not working hard enough, or you're not resting enough. Maybe you're doing too many workouts in the week, right? But starting with one just always makes sense. So, I mean, that's where we start everyone off. We do multiple set protocols here sometimes, of course. We do all kinds of things. We're not like trapped in the HIIT, world. Jokingly, we sometimes say we're like HIIT influenced or like HIIT adjacent, right?
Right.
But we use all types of protocols, but the default is one hard set with good technique to the point where you can't do another perfect rep, right? I like, you were the first one I heard use the term volitional fatigue. And again, I don't know whether that was something you came up with, but that you were the first one I heard use it. I sort of use that as a differentiator because I consider beginners to usually reach volitional fatigue, right? Where they're giving up, but they physically could do more, but they just haven't realized it, right? So I use that. In the beginning, I sort of let them decide, and I tell beginners, do as many as you feel like you can. Stop when you feel like you've had enough. You know what I mean? But over time, they learn, oh, I can go harder, I can go longer, I can push against that discomfort, right? I had a lady yesterday who was a brand new lady. We put everyone through these basic exercises as like a testing protocol. She was on the leg extension. We start them off with 30% of their body weight. So it's pretty low challenge. And we have them do 10 reps with 30% of their body weight. At the end of that first set, we have them give us a 1 to 10, 1 to 10 rating, perceived exertion. I go, what was that? What was that perceived exertion? 10 reps with 30%. She goes, oh, that was an 8 or a 9. You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, okay, so that was hard. So I said, well, I'm going to make it harder, right? And you're going to do it again. And of course, I bumped it up by 50%. I went from, 40 pounds to 80 pounds or whatever. And she still did another 10 reps, right? And she said, oh, that was, definitely a 10. You know what I mean? And I go, okay. And I go, should we stop there? And she's like, well, I could try again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then she did 10 reps with heavier weight again, right? So she has no idea. And of course, it's uncomfortable. She's not used to that burning in the quads when you do a leg extension. But, she has no idea, where those numbers are, what her real abilities are. And this is, what we need to learn by partnering with people.
Yeah, that's the job right there. Teaching, they learn how to push themselves. And, initially, most of the gains are just because of learning the skill of doing the exercise.
Right.
The coordination of it, recruiting the proper motor units to go in that direction at that force. So they get stronger. They looks like they're getting stronger, but they're really just learning how to do it right. And then over time, once they've learned that, then you start tapping into you start really overloading the maximum number of muscle fibers they can recruit based on their neurological efficiency and their genetic makeup. Because people may have a different on the bell curve, right? On one end, you may be a little bit more type 2 motor units in a certain muscle group, and maybe average in another. So when you're doing multi-joint exercises, the number of reps you do with a certain weight may be different than somebody else because of the fact your muscles contain different fibers and a greater percentage or a volume, right? So there's all these different genetic things, so it's all just about you, what you can do, and what you do on day one. You learn how to push harder, you can do more through that learning phase, and eventually your body starts changing because you're actually overloading the tissue rather than just neurologically recruiting and performing the movement. But yeah, it's all individual, and like you said, everybody's got a different ability to do that, pain tolerance, and they don't know how initially, and eventually they can do more. That's why I like to go back and do these, I call them retro workouts, where maybe we'll repeat something did maybe a year before, and they'll maybe double the reps because that was back when they're learning. Now they're experienced and they can smash it pretty good.
When you do those retro workouts, do you use the same weight that they used before?
Yes. Yeah. That's why. And sometimes they'll go from like from maybe 10 reps to like 40.
Yeah.
And that talk about a mental boost they get. They're like, wow. I said, remember back then you're here, now you're here. So how'd you get there? Well, you got there by coming in here on a regular basis, pushing, it's an incremental thing. It's a little, inch by inch is a cinch, yard by.
I like that idea. I love like revisiting the early stuff so they can really have this like smack in the face of how much they've improved.
That is a huge motivator because it's like, whoa. Because again, at this point, that was all you had. Now you're like tripling it sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're good just for, to prove that they've made progress, and also to keep them motivated. Like, hey, this, my commitment to this is working pretty good. I'm going to stick with it. So, but again, all the stuff we've been talking about is just basic stuff that applies to exercise. And people have, like you mentioned, all the new stuff coming out there because people are always looking for something new. I mean,
sure,
that's the way we evolve in this world, right? The microchip to, 5 gigs of RAM on something, and now they're, tetrabytes and all that. So you never know, but you always have to keep progressing forward. But again, as the industry, as a fitness industry, our physiology is always going to be what it was, in the past. I mean, it's, we're not developing these superhuman people. It's the same genetics, the same. We still have, DNA a certain way from our family, but we all have muscles insert and attached kind of in a similar manner, maybe slight differences. I mean, so, and again, I'm repeating myself, but that stuff's never going to change.
Yeah.
But then you throw on top of the fact that, the crappy food environment, the laziness, it's a different world than it was even 20 years ago.
No, I agree.
Hey, what are those guys doing here? Whenever I feel like I'm stalling out on my bench press, I know I need a new strength curve. Whether you're stalling out on the road or stalling out in the gym, you need something with great engineering. That's right. And so look for the pendulum. Pendulum. Not just your average strength machines. No, they have smooth strength curves, amazing rigidity. And did we mention the engineering's fantastic? That's right. Not to mention, they come in cool colors, like red and silver. Well, that was kind of weird. What was that all about? Back to the interview.
So one of the things you had mentioned you might want to jump into, and maybe I'm not sure if you have like real specific stuff, but you had mentioned about tips and triggers for motivating people. What really gets them, off their asses to move and eat better. Do you have specific things that you find are effective, for that, or was it more of like a question, or do you have tips and tricks that you find that give you some success in helping to motivate people moving forward with your own client base?
Well, you know what? It's all specific to that person because people have different goals. Although, like I said, the common theme is usually I want to get in better shape, I want to lose fat and all that. But and we kind of touched on a little bit of that in that last discussion about motivation and the workout progression. When they show up, I say, hey, why are you here? And then, you got to stop them in their tracks. And, you came here for a reason. Why are you here? And they got to think about that. And I said, what we're going to do today, this workout is going to get you closer to that goal. And you got to push yourself. You got to listen to me. You got to use proper form and, document and all that stuff. But you get them motivated, you got to kind of start with why you're there. And then the nutrition thing, never ending. You always got to remind them, look, hey, you had a hell of a workout today. Don't screw it up by eating improperly, which a lot of them will.
Sure.
But again, that's, like I said, 10% workout, we're in control of. The 90% of the rest of their day, they're in control of. So you always have to keep motivating them or by staying on them about watching what they eat, watch what they eat. Because you can control the workouts, because, that's easy. That's actually, it's hard work, but it's easy to do because hey, you can do an extra rep. We took less rest on this and we're doing this. So we added another exercise or whatever it was, some kind of a plan. But there are so many different factors in that motivation thing. And some people have a go for the throat mentality and some people are like, I don't know. So what are you going to do with that? Right. So you got to find whatever kind of trips they're triggered or whatever gets them going. But you got to stay on them with all that stuff and remind them while they're there, why they're there. They leave.
That's part of the art. I think that's the art part of the personal training, right? You can have all kinds of experience. You can have a lot of knowledge about, how does a muscle work and, which muscles and attachments and origins.
Yes.
But you need to be very present with the person that's in front of you. And I think that's important what you're saying, that's a what is their why, right? That's an important part, but also, the trainer themselves recognizing that you can't have a cookie cutter approach. I mean, we have a broad array of clients. We have 16-year-olds. We have people all the way up into their 90s right now. We have 50s, 60s, 70s, all different backgrounds. Although the goals ultimately, as I agree with you, are pretty similar. Lose some fat, gain some muscle, maintain some function, feel better. But they can express themselves just like the bodies do, emotionally, mentally, whatever, on such a broad continuum, right? Some people want to know exactly what they did and they want to break that record every single time. Some people don't want you to mention it to them. They don't want to know anything about it. They don't care. Some people need a cheerleader. Some people literally say, I don't want a cheerleader, right? Like, shut up and don't talk to me while I'm doing this. You know what I mean? And you have to learn how to, adjust with each person and give them what they want, what they need, what you've recognized works for that person. And that's really, an art of being a strength coach or a good personal trainer. And, you can't, it's just one thing doesn't work for everybody. The training is less specific, right? We know that basic training programs are going to work, but you have to apply it differently, even though, because like for instance, we have we call it an onboarding program. The first 12 workouts, when you come to TNT, the first 12 workouts are identical for every single client, assuming that they don't have any problems, any congenital issues or injuries. Every client goes through the exact same first 12 workouts. But what those workouts look like is totally different, right? Based on the person, how they respond, what their personality is like, plus they're going to get different outcomes. So I tell them this is custom to you because it's based on their performance, right? But the actual order of the exercises and all is exactly the same for the first 12 workouts for every single person that comes through here, right?
That's actually a really good approach because you can really see that, from one workout to the next, because that learning factor we're talking about, you can see that going up probably every workout, right?
Yeah, I mean, the workouts are not identical, but in other words, workout 1 is different from workout 2, from workout 3. The workouts themselves change, but the first 12 workouts are identical in the sense that you always go through workout 1, then workout 2, then workout 3 for the 1 through 12, right?
Yeah.
And the next guy does, and the next woman does, and the next person does. They all do workout 1 through 12, and once they're done, that's when we really have gathered a lot of data, right? We've got 12 solid workouts under our belt where we've learned and seen and helped them grow and feel things. And now we really start to customize more deeply from there. Now let's revisit what that why is. We know by the end of those 12 workouts, almost everyone will be stronger, actually have added a little bit of muscle, right? All those things we'll test them on day 1 with the in-body, right? What's their body composition? How much fat? And we'll put them again at the end, right? And they've usually always made some changes already, some quite dramatic. Sometimes they put on 5 pounds of muscle in those first 12 workouts, right?
Yeah.
So we see that, and now we revisit that why. What is it that we need to do now? Like, I want to climb a mountain. I want to be ready for ski season, right? I want to work on my glutes more, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? Whatever those goals are. And now we start to really dig into them specifically and try to help them, move in the direction they want while still supporting the process.
So I got a question for you, Liam.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anybody you've trained for, I don't know, 6 months, a year, 2 years, long time, ever come back and say, you know what, it's not cutting it? I've not seen any results from my time with you.
I haven't had anyone see no results, but I definitely have had some people feeling like the results are not what they were hoping, right? They were expecting more. And usually not to, point fingers, right, at any specific personal choices and everything, but my experience has shown that most of the time, those people are people that are like hung up on the idea that they need to be a vegan, plant-based, and there's usually a hole in their nutrition game. They're usually struggling to get the protein, or they're struggling with sleep, right? The little factors that we know are supportive to the recovery process. Maybe they drink a lot of alcohol, right? There's personal things, and you become aware of those things, right? As you develop that rapport with these people. And as you mentioned, people lie about food. I feel like people lie about alcohol consumption more than anything, right? They tell you like, oh, I have a martini now and then, but they really are having like an entire bottle of wine every night or whatever, right? I ran into one of my clients once in Costco, and they had like a grocery cart filled with whiskey. And, I don't think they were just having a party, but that's what I found. So I've had some plant-based people, some vegan people really struggling. And I had one person literally ask me one time, they came in, they went through this stuff, and they said very honestly and sincerely, like, could it be my nutrition plan that's not allowing me to see the results, right? And again, we don't judge. We don't give people a hard time. We don't tell them what they should do. But I said, yes, it could be, right? It could be your plan because you're telling me you're a vegan. You're telling me you're eating this way. And when we discuss it, I can see that you're not meeting like the most basic requirements to support what we're doing. And I said, you don't have to change from being a vegan, but you have to prioritize, getting those protein needs met. And if they're not coming from animal sources, it's more challenging. You can do it, but you have to be super conscious of it, right? And if you're not going to be, then you're going to be, holding yourself back, right? Because I see you coming in and doing the work, but if you're getting, you're a 140-pound person and you're taking in, 30 or 40 grams of protein a day, right? You're not cutting it. So that's where it usually happens, I find.
Yeah, and no, the reason I asked that because I knew you were going to say exactly what you said. I've never had anybody come back and say, this isn't working. And if they ever did, it would be on them because we take care of the training part. We mentioned before. It's that, like you said, don't go to the grocery store, load your grocery cart full of whiskey, right? But no, it's you kind of back them in the corner there. It's all that part's going to be on them. If they didn't, we can take care of the workout stuff. And you should be getting results because of what we're doing in the weight room or in the training facility. If you're not, and it's not meeting expectations, either you're delusional and you think you want to go from Clark Kent to a Superman. That's not going to happen. But the other one is you're probably not eating properly and sleeping. You're not taking care of yourself outside of the training facility.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of you don't want to sabotage them that way, but just remind them that, hey, you're doing great here, but man, you got to do really good when I don't see you.
Yeah. Well, this one person, unfortunately, felt as if I mistakenly in my mind, but felt as if I was sort of questioning their choices as far as veganism and stuff. Because again, I don't ever badmouth anybody's nutrition plan, but I just told the truth. She asked the question, could it be my nutrition plan? I answered it honestly. Yes, it could. I didn't say, you need to eat a steak, right? But she actually left. She actually quit working with us, because she had decided that I was like anti-vegan or something.
Well, hey, you asked the right question and you were being factual about it. And the fact is, she's probably not getting enough protein because she's got to do the plant-based thing, which is tough, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I would say, hey, go eat that steak. But
it is hard. It's very hard. I tell people, you need to be super conscious of it, especially if that's the choice you're going to make. It's hard, for lots of reasons, not the least of which is you probably are forced to supplement at that point if you're choosing the plants, but because the volume of food you have to eat is so high, you can't stay in your calorie lane and meet the nutrient requirements at the same time, right? Because the density is just it's the efficiency ratio, if you will, like 4 ounces of animal protein versus trying to meet the same amount of bang for your buck with a plant-based source. You have to eat twice as much or 3 or 4 times as much. Even the research has shown this. I saw a recent research paper that showed like they literally had to eat like 3 times as much plant-based stuff to get the same muscle protein synthesis. So again, if that's your choice, that's okay. You have your reasons for doing it, but you just have to recognize the challenges.
Well, it's not like you were doing that person a favor by telling them the truth. I mean, it's, hey.
Truth, not trends, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Hence your company. Yeah. But no, you got to be honest with them. Sometimes they don't like to hear the truth, but hey, the truth is the truth.
Another thing you mentioned you might want to talk about, which could be interesting, was the idea of sort of predicting what we think the fitness industry might be like, 5, 10, or 20 years from now. And I don't know whether you have any thoughts about that.
A total mess. No. That's okay. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get better. It's going to get worse before it gets better. You got to go with modern technology, but I think, boy, that's I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? I think that.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I guess it depends on where we look. Like we know the information is just going to keep on coming. We know that the information overload is going to keep on growing. Social media is not going anywhere. People are not going to learn how to filter. They're not going to learn how to think critically unless they work hard at it. So that part, I don't think is going to get better. I do feel like there's some interesting things I see out on the equipment front. And again, the sort of machines versus free weights thing will always, has been around since the Nautilus days. But we've been playing with what they call the smart gyms lately. And I have been I've played with some and think they're amazing tools to build, especially for a home gym. Like they're basically these little platforms, and inside them they have like a computer-driven engines that provide the resistance. And we're working with one particular brand here at TNT called Inada Gym, and they create these little platforms. They have 3 different sizes, and the size determines how much resistance can be generated by the motors inside. But what's also really cool is you can basically replicate any strength training exercise you can imagine. But now, with the touch of a button, I can create all the different types of resistance in that same machine. So like, in other words, if I like the feel of resistance bands, right, that accommodating resistance where like the further out it stretches, the more the resistance increases. With the touch of a button, the computer can replicate that. And so the more I pull on it or push on it, the harder it gets. With the touch of a button, I can increase the negative automatically. So now I'm curling, 40 pounds and resisting 80 pounds. You know what I mean? Automatically, just with the touch of a button, something I can't do with a free weight easily. With the touch of a button, I can replicate like a centrifugal force type of thing, like a flywheel style. Like the harder you pull, the harder it pulls back, right? It matches your effort. Again, literally, you can do all these types of resistance just with the touch of a button. And it.
Can you do negative? Can you do negative only?
You can't do negative only with this particular line that I'm using, but you can do accentuated negative where like it'll double the negative, or things like that. Like it'll make it, let's say I curl 100 pounds, it'll be 200 pounds on the way down. Of course, I'm not curling 100 pounds, but I'm just but it's amazing. And they're quiet, they're smooth, they're low friction. You can control it through an app on your phone. I mean, all kinds of cool stuff. And so, there's other machines out there you may have seen, like ARX, right? Adaptive resistance exercise. They're big computer-driven machines. I think these different types of computer-driven machines. Exerbotics has been around for a long time. Mm-hmm. They're out there and they work, and some people are, enjoy them. And there's other also cool things coming along with they're not computer machines, but how they match your ability to resist. I just saw a machine yesterday that you can sit in this machine and it'll literally go anywhere your body goes. So like if I curl, it gives me resistance, but I could do a lateral raise in the same machine. It's like dumbbells, but it's just matching whatever movement I do, and it's putting resistance against that movement, no matter which pattern I choose. It was wild. So there's some cool innovations, but again, will people have access to those things? Do they really matter? No. Do I need the coolest, latest thing in order to be successful? No. Could I have success with just the basic rubber bands, with just a basic set of dumbbells, just with my body weight? Of course I could. So I don't know that it's better, but I do think it's cool that people are putting thought and time and energy into like creating different ways to do this efficiently and safely.
Well, and that's a great example of something good as far as the future, because essentially you're making the, again, overload recovery progression. You're making the overload component a little bit more conducive or more quality, like I guess the best way. But it's a device that overloads the muscle in a different way, that's a good step, because maybe that'd be practical for certain people if they can afford that. And like you mentioned, you don't have the money, there's always another way to do it. But.
Exactly. So one other cool feature with this Inada Gym, one of the coolest features, honestly, is they basically all the handles. So, you have handles like a dumbbell or like a barbell, right? They have a button built in that's like a Bluetooth, and it instantly turns the resistance on or off. So I can train all by myself. I can get into a position to do a barbell bench press, for example. Uh-huh. I'm bench pressing. I go to failure. I get trapped under there. I just press the button and there's no weight anymore.
Nice.
Instantly. So I don't need a spotter. I don't have to worry about getting stuck. You know what I mean? When I'm doing something, I can literally turn the weight on and off with the touch of a button. So that's a super cool feature. And I actually bought one of these machines for myself for my home gym for a birthday present for myself this year. I turned, I'm 62 last August. So I bought myself one, and I love it. It's quiet. It doesn't take up a lot of space. I can train alone safely. I can go hard. I don't have to worry about it. I don't need anybody around. I don't need a big power rack with safety catch bars and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's super, super cool.
That sounds really interesting. I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah. And right now, so I've partnered up with them. So we have a link. If someone wants to buy one of these smart gyms, they can get 20% off with the link, just the word TAKU when you go to the store. And but yeah, if you want to know more about it, we can chat about it offline. But it's very cool. I'm really we have one at the gym as well. We have a smaller version. They have 3 different models with different amounts of resistance based on the size and so forth. So we have one at our studio now as well. It's very cool.
So yeah, based on that discussion right there, and the whole free weight versus machine thing, that we need to bury that, because that's old school. I mean, I would say your muscles are stupid. They don't know what they're being resisted by, whether it's a cable, a dumbbell, a barbell, a band, a sandbag, doesn't matter. It just knows it has to overcome that resistance, right?
Yeah, of course.
So that's why a lot of different things work. And this aforementioned device you're mentioning, that's a good thing. I like to see that, because there are smart people out there trying to advance the profession, and that's a good advancement.
Yeah.
Rather than getting, so, but I also think that, remember the days of the high intensity, one set to failure thing? Great advice, outstanding advice. I think in the future, what I'd like to see actually would be, because of the fact that, the world has a greater population than it did, a year ago, there are more people out there who need help as far as fitness, because of the food, big pharma, big agri. But what I'd like to see is if a push back to conventional high intensity training, where you go there and you do brief, hard exercise and you're out of there. Like, you go into a gym twice a week and do 5 exercises.
Right.
So 10 exercises a week, as hard as you can, which would be 100% better than doing nothing. It's time efficient, and you would definitely get results in that. And you imagine if everybody in the world did that, we live in a world where there'd be less body fat roaming the planet and more fit people, and maybe insurance costs would go down. And then with RFK Jr. getting in on the Trump administration and attacking all the the food manufacturers, all the crap they're putting in there, I could see that. People eating healthy, people working out a couple times a week, at least a minimum. Again, you could do more, but
sure,
something like that would be a good fit for the world in general.
Yeah, well, so that's why TNT is trying to take over. We're trying to we're gonna
yes,
we're gonna be all over the place. Someday there'll be a TNT in every town. It'll be like McDonald's. People will be like, "Hey, look, they got a TNT over there."
It would be like a drive-through fast food joint. You drive in there, go in and do your workout and 5 exercises, be out of there in 10 minutes, exhausted, and then you go home.
Yeah,
and eat well.
I used to think that somebody should build a gym, like high intensity gym, in airports, because people always get layovers.
Yes,
and like you could spend go in and get like an awesome 30-minute workout.
Yeah,
while you're stuck in Chicago O'Hare, or one of those big hub airports, Atlanta, right? And you're like, oh, sweet, they got like a gym where I can go in and get crushed for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think some big truck stops around the nation have now little fitness centers in there.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, and think about the truck driver who drives cross country, sitting on their butt all day long.
Yeah,
they pull in there, they could go in there and get a quick 20-minute workout or whatever it is. I think people are overwhelmed when they think working out. They think, oh my God, I got to do something every day. I got to do it for hours. No, you start out twice a week give me 30 minutes. You can do the math, whatever percent of a week. 30, 1 hour is. I figured that out one time. I've written down somewhere, but
yeah,
you got to get people, start them slow, like you said. Do your 12 workouts, brief workouts, and get them going. And a very, very scaled down, brief but high effort workout is so good for you, and it gets you going. And if that's all you did your whole life, you know what? It's better than doing nothing.
For sure. No, yeah. I mean, that's our model right there, right? We recommend 2 30-minute workouts a week. We offer 3, we offer 1, but the majority of our clients are successful with 2. It gives a great balance. The results are effective. It's like you said, it's only 1 hour a week. That's like 1% of their week after you take out all that other stuff. I remember you did that math.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a tiny percentage, and people can wrap their heads around it, right? And I do feel like, as a positive, that more and more places are recognizing that it takes less time. Like, they're not necessarily doing the most efficient use of that time, but they are recognizing, because in the old days, right? I remember I worked for a personal training studio years ago where the owner was trying to sell every client on 4 times a week for 90 minutes.
Ooh.
And I started working for him, and I was like doing my thing, right? So I was like, we could do, 2 or 3 times a week for half an hour. He was selling hours. He was the boss. I wasn't selling the training. So I had to take them for an hour. But I mean, what ends up happening is I'm, doing a strength and conditioning workout in an hour, right? I'm hitting them with 20 or 30 minutes, of hard weights, and then hitting them with some intervals on a bike or a VersaClimber or whatever, all in that same workout, right? And of course, I'm making these guys get super fit, and and they've got nothing left, right, in that amount of time with those kind of workouts. And that's the kind of workouts we do here at TNT. But in 30 minutes, we might throw someone on a bike for just a few minutes at the end and crush them with a few 20-second all-out bursts on an air bike or something like that. Yeah, it's awesome. I remember that gym you described years ago where just one side was all VersaClimbers and one side that's like my dream right there.
Have like all VersaClimbers, all Jacob's ladder, maybe on their side.
Yeah.
No treadmills. I hate treadmills.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, if you're gonna do a treadmill, just go outside and run. And then I'd have like maybe a line of like 7 machines to hit your whole body. You do maybe a 5-minute interval Tabata on the VersaClimber or the Jacob's ladder. Then you go right down the line and just, you're done in under 30 minutes.
Oh, for sure.
You mentioned the hour and a half thing. That I put it this way. I have a hard time filling an hour, meaning that after about 40 minutes, my people are done.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because there's a point where you're beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at the clock thinking, okay, and we do on the hour sessions, we do a stretching with them at the end, which is good. Get them to, when their body's kind of more pliable, they can stretch at the end of that workout after they've already trained. But after about 40 minutes, it's like, okay, we're done, but I got to keep going because you pay for an hour. So I got to throw some, and it's kind of a waste.
Yeah. It's hard.
That's why I like the 30 minutes, because you get going right away and you're done, and they're like I said, they're toast at the end of that 30 minutes. And hey, we accomplished it. Have a nice day.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, what happened with another place I worked was they would sell at point of sale. They would sign them up for these hour sessions, and then they'd spend, whatever that package was, maybe it was 10 sessions. And then while they're training with me, they'd be tapping out after 20 or 30 minutes. And I'd go, and then I'd tell them, in case you didn't realize it, you could buy 30-minute sessions, you know what I mean? Because they did sell them. And they're like, oh yeah, let's do that. So everyone would convert over to the 30-minute sessions after their first block, because they realized like they can't take an hour of hard work, right?
Yes.
Yeah, nobody can.
No, nobody can. That's why, again, these people that go to the gym 5 days a week for 2 hours, they're not working hard the whole time. They're doing a set, sitting around, finding the next song of their playlist, going getting some water, doing another. It's really disgusting. And I thank God that I'm not working at a facility where I have to see that all the time, because I would lose my mind, especially when if they get in the way of me and they're doing nothing. It's like I know they're a paid member and I can't chew them out, but I want to go over and say, listen, why don't you come visit me sometime and I'll show you how to properly work out, and you won't be sitting there on this machine. I saw a guy a few weeks ago, literally sitting on a leg press machine, fooling with his phone, scrolling, whatever, doing the exercise. And the whole time he was in there, he never let go of his phone. He went from one machine to another.
Yeah.
He never set it down. He was always on it. It's like, dude, give it a break. Get away from that thing.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're here, do something right. I'd be glad to show you how to do that. But you're annoying people. You're in our way. I have people who want to get better, and you are impeding that. So I've got to watch my behavior around people like that so I don't go off on them. But very tempting.
No, I totally get it though. For sure. Yeah. I mean, I've seen it as well, 100 times, and no matter what, when you're in those commercial settings, the guy's sitting there looking at his phone, and it unfolds exactly like this. You walk over and you go, hey, can I work in? And they snap out of their little spell that they're under, and they go, oh, I've got 3 more sets or whatever, right? They always have more sets left, even though they were sitting there for 10 minutes looking at their phone. And so the way I learned to be around that as a high intensity guy is I go, look, man, I'm going to do 1 set. It'll be over in 60 to 90 seconds, right? So you get out of the way for 60 to 90 seconds and you can get back on that machine, right? And then they usually go, okay, right, begrudgingly.
Yeah.
And then you get in it and you're done.
That would actually be a teaching moment for those people. If they saw, hey, look at that. They're, 90 seconds, done. Neat. Maybe I'll try that.
Yeah, you would hope that'd be true, but I don't know if it ever works out that way.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I don't know how your time is, but we should probably wind it down. I don't want to keep you all day, but it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, I've got to go. It's what is it, 1:45 here. I've got to train, let's see, 4 o'clock. I've got a 1 hour session and then a half hour. Then I teach a boot camp
Nice.
from 5:30 to 6:30. And it's not, put it this way, I'm not putting on a Jane Fonda outfit or a Richard Simmons outfit, dancing around.
I want to see that. I want to see Richard. I want to see you dressed as Richard Simmons.
I don't think you want to see that, but no, it's pretty much, hey, grab these dumbbells, we're doing this. Okay, put them down, we're doing this. It's hard, but it's a boot camp. Again, I asked the question, why are you here? To have fun? Oh, great, but we're gonna work hard having fun. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's been good talking to you, man.
You as well.
Keep up the good work. Send me that information on that device you're talking about.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'll send that over to you, and you should definitely check them out. I'll send you a few things after we jump off.
Nice.
Okay, man.
All right, Liam.
Have an awesome day. Thanks for joining us. I'm gonna stay around so I can record my intro, and then I'll look forward to staying in touch.
Thanks for your tech guy and everybody else there.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks, brother.
All right, take care.
Boom, baby.
What's up, people? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of
Truth, not trends.
That's right here at TNT Strength Headquarters, Truth Not Trends.
Please, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and review us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And don't forget to share with a friend.
You can find us on the web at tntstrength.com.
That's right, TNT Strength now coming to you in person at 5255 College Avenue in Oakland, California. You can call the studio 510-768-5421. You can also text us at 855-796-9905.
Or shoot us an email at contact@tntstrength.com. And whatever you do, stay off of that stupid blue bubbly boasting. Desmond can pull this out and rearrange it or whatever.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.
And I agree.